I can parallel park my Cadillac and stilettos with a baby on each hip, sipping my Starbucks and managing 2 companies all at the same time. I am an American woman. Need I say more? Pop the Glam-pagne.
Pop the Glam-pagne. It's time for the Julie Tussey Show live guest current event scathing exposés. The original Suburban Bombshell, the big blonde baby, giving you the fastest, funniest, most informative 30 minutes of your life. And now, here's Julie Tussey.
She makes you want to kiss her.
Thank you so much, everybody. What a privilege it is to be here with you today on the Julie Tussey Show. I am so happy it is spring. I love spring. I'm sure you do too. We had a great winter for Kentucky, but I'm looking so forward to the warm weather. Last week on the Julie Tussey Show, we talked to you about the top 10 trends from the New York Fashion Week, spring 2017. Getting a really good response from that. That was episode 39. And today we're going to be talking to you about change your mind, change your life. Get on the Julie Tussey train. We're going somewhere, baby.
Find us on social media at facebook.com/The Julie Tussey Show and connect with the best and the most outrageous 30 minutes of your life.
After a week of hearing hundreds of I can'ts, I'm here today to tell you you can. Talking to you today about a subject called Change Your Mind, Change Your Life. I wanted to give you 5 keys to change your mind. You know, when things happen in life that are hard to deal with, we have got to have systems in place that we have learned and learned how to make the best of a bad situation. You may know or you may not know that my husband, Gary Tussey, was in an accident, a head-on collision recently. I talked about it a little bit last podcast. And it was a very bad situation. He was coming around a curve after crossing under a bridge, so he wasn't going very fast. But an elderly gentleman, was trying to take himself to the hospital. I don't know if he was hurt or ill or both, but he was trying to take himself to the hospital, and he blacked out, and he hit my husband going very fast and didn't stop. Didn't he know he was going to do it in a head-on collision in my husband's lane? So although we're not to blame and it was not our fault, this horrible accident happened. My husband was cut out of the truck. He was taken to the trauma unit at UK for head and neck trauma. He did end up having 2 broken ribs and some internal injuries that we are dealing with, and we are self-employed. So when my husband doesn't work, it's not a good thing. Needless to say, that was a really bad, traumatic experience for me. I found out about it via a phone call, and a stranger had found my husband. Oh, it was not a good thing. But I had to make a choice through all that. And I'm kind of like this. Maybe you are like this too, but I'm rather stoic and strong in the face of the storm. But when it's over, that's when I break down, and that's when I fight sadness, and that's when I fight. So once I knew Gary was okay, then you know that he was going to make it and everything was okay, and we got home. That's when I've had to deal with those things. Now, I wanted to talk about these 5 keys to change your mind and change your life. And I was thinking about with this situation, what did I have to do to change my mind so that I'm not depressed and thinking sad thoughts? It would be very easy for me to have the thought, why God? Why did this have to happen to us? You know, we're self-employed and we don't have the same coverages as other people. And when my husband gets hurt, I could play the blame God game, or I could be looking at the negative, like, oh, he's hurt and he's not going to be able to work for a few weeks. And that kind of thing is the natural inclination of the human mind to go there. But I am a big believer in disciplining your mind. And so the number one of the 5 things that I had to do to change the way that I looked at this situation, and the way that you can change the way you think about any situation. It doesn't have to be such a devastating situation. It can just be basically even looking at your own life, about your job or your kids or your home life, just anything. Is I had to look at the glass as half full and get rid of stinking thinking. You know, I could not stay in a pity party. I could not feel bad for myself and Gary that here's one more challenge in life. But I had to start looking at the glass as half full. I had to look at the situation. Of course, my first reaction was, thank God he's alive. You don't even know when you get to that hospital what's going to be waiting. You don't know. And he had a concussion and he didn't remember every 15 minutes what happened. And I had to tell him over and over and over. And it was terrible. It was terrible for a while. So you don't know what you're going to face. But I had to start looking for something to be thankful about, to start seeing that glass half full. So I started saying, thank you, Jesus, that my husband is alive, you know, and then it was, thank you that he doesn't have brain damage, or that he's not paralyzed, or that he doesn't have broken hands and broken legs and things. You know, he plays the guitar. That would be very devastating for him. And I started looking at the good that was still there. So my glass was half full instead of half empty. The second key that just ran through my mind while I was going through this experience was this song that we used to sing in church, Whose Report Will You Believe? Well, whose report was I going to believe? Was I going to believe the worst? Or was I going to see, in my mind, there's a story of this, a narration of every episode in life. You get a narration and a story, and you can either be a victim or you can be a victor. And so I had to think about this story. Yes, it was bad. Yes, it was scary. Yes, it was traumatic. Yes, I cried for 2 or 3 days after I got home with Gary and still want to cry right now. But I had to choose what I was going to believe about this. And what I chose to believe was that God had spared Gary's life. He wasn't dead. He was alive. He was with me. And if you're breathing, honey, if you are breathing, there is always hope. Because if you're not breathing, you're not here anymore, and nothing's ever going to change, right? So he was breathing. He was alive. He wasn't mentally impaired in any way. I had to start looking at those kinds of things and write the story in my own mind. You can rewrite the story in your mind about anything. I was listening to Heather Robertson. You all know I love her, and she has halfsizeme.com, and she was relating this same situation to weight loss. And she was saying, you know, you can have a story about your weight loss where you tried this, you tried that, you tried this, you tried that, nothing worked. And you write a story in your mind, and it's when you tell it to someone, and if they go, oh, you know, then you are the victim in that story. But you can actually rewrite the story with blatant honesty. You can rewrite the story in your mind and maybe look and say, well, you know, I did do that, but I didn't do it this way. I cheated. I binged. I ate. And this is what she was saying. And she said, you can rewrite your story in your mind. If you're totally and completely honest with yourself, there may be reasons that you failed in that area. So when I was hearing all of these things about Gary, I just chose to believe the report that says everything's going to be all right because he's alive and God is big. And so that was helpful to me. So that was step 2. Key 2. So you have a story in your mind. Maybe you should revisit it And make sure it's completely true. Is it completely the truth, or is it embellished? Or are you thinking negatively and feeling sorry for yourself? Is there something in there that you can rewrite so that you can be the victor and not the victim? Number 3, the third key, I decided to be thankful and to believe for the best and to look for good things to happen, in those kinds of situations where you feel like you have no control. It is so easy to be pessimistic and down and afraid, and your mind can go crazy. Your mind literally can go crazy with all of the scenarios of how bad it could be and what could happen, and this could happen and that could happen, and we could end up homeless, and we could, these things run through your mind. It's just crazy. But in that, I chose to be thankful that Gary was alive, thankful that, yes, our truck was completely ruined and totaled, but we'll just get a new truck. Trucks are just things, right? I chose to be thankful that, like I said earlier, his hands weren't broken, his arms weren't broken, his legs weren't broken. Broken ribs, we can deal with that. Internal injuries, we can deal with that. We can believe for the best in that situation. And I'm so thankful for that. We'll be right back.
Connect with us on social media at facebook.com, The Julie Tussey Show, home of the original Suburban Bombshell. Health and beauty are synonymous, and when you find a place that can help you accomplish those two things in your life, you have really found a treasure. The skincare experts at Beautiful You Medical Spa are waiting to help enhance your natural beauty. You have got to go and enjoy their relaxing, full-service medical spa and friendly staff. Book your first facial today for only $45 when you tell them that Julie sent you. Beautiful You Medical Spa, because everyone deserves to look and feel more beautiful.
Never underestimate the power of a woman in red lipstick. We're talking about change your mind, change your life, and I told you that my husband was in a head-on collision. It actually was last week, but it'll be 2 weeks by the time you hear this podcast. And we were talking about 5 keys to change your mind. If you can change your mind, you can change your life. I love the word paradigm, and then shift. Paradigm shift. In other words, it's like key number 1, looking at the glass half full or half empty. If you're looking at it half empty, you have to make a paradigm shift in your mind to see it half full. We have a construction company, and I really learned this about 20 years ago. I really learned how to have a paradigm shift because of the men that were working for us in construction. And construction is its own world. It's completely its own world. But I had moved here from Michigan when Gary and I got married, and I had never encountered this kind of a work ethic before, and it was a complete and utter shock. But we would hire construction workers, and maybe they were drinkers or smokers or worse, I don't know. But these were guys that we wanted to give them a chance to make a life for themselves, and Gary and I are always big on helping other people. So we would give them a job. Well, we would have X amount of work lined out for them to do. And in order to get money in to pay them and the bills and our own bills, you have to get X amount of work done by X time, and then you make a draw, right? Well, these guys would come to work, and they would work maybe Tuesday and Wednesday, and then they would miss Thursday, but they were definitely back on Friday to get their paycheck. And I call it beer money mentality. That's what I began. And when it first was happening, I would become so angry because we did them a favor giving them the job, and we're trying to help them, and then they won't come and do the work, and they must not see that if you don't do the work, you don't get the money, and if you don't get the money, there's no money to pay you. But they just couldn't equate this in their minds, evidently, and it would make me so upset because it would put everything in a bad position for our company and for Gary and myself. Although we were working 60 and 70 hours a week, It takes X amount of man hours to complete a job. So, I got so frustrated. I was like, I cannot believe the lack of work ethic. I'd never seen anything like it. And, one day it dawned on me after being so frustrated. It dawned on me, you know what? I'm going to turn the tables on this thing. I'm going to completely turn it around, and I'm going to see it from a different light. Okay, so Joe will work Tuesday and Wednesday and Friday, and Tom will work Monday and Tuesday, and then he might show up on Friday. And so I sat down with Gary and I said, listen, we know that we can get 3 days from him, 2 days from him, 4 days from him, and let's take that and schedule accordingly. And so I had a paradigm shift about this situation. And you know what it did for me? Oh my gosh, I stopped being angry and I stopped being the victim. I stopped being the victim of their lack of work ethic and their lack of loyalty and their lack of productivity. And I became the victor. I became the victor in my mind because I felt like I could control the situation, that I was not at the mercy of someone else if I would just look and see how many days a week they actually would show up. And I turned the tables on them. And so I'm not going to say I used them, but I used that to function in our company. And Gary used that as if you have to have 100 man hours, then we would know how many man hours instead of counting on 40 a week. And it was wonderful. And I think that was the most marked paradigm shift that I've ever had. So I love that you can change your mind and change your life. So we've talked about 1, look at the glass half full. 2, whose report will you believe? Are you going to believe the bad report that your mind is trying to create, or are you going to rewrite it and choose to believe the good? Number 3, be thankful and believe for the best. Look for good things to happen. Being thankful, oh my goodness. Not everything that comes your way is worthy of thankfulness, but there is always something that you can find to be thankful for. Number 4, I love this point. This is huge, huge, huge if you're going to change your mind and change your life. Do not borrow trouble. Oh my goodness. Do not borrow trouble. In other words, don't expect bad things to happen. Don't create a negative hypothesis. That means a hypothesis is a supposition or a proposed explanation made on the basis of limited evidence. In other words, if you have a stomach ache, don't borrow trouble and think you have cancer. If you have, you know what I mean? And it can be that extreme. You see your husband laying on in ER in trauma. They've cut his clothes off and he looks terrible and he can't remember where he is every 15 minutes. And I could have borrowed trouble there. I could have been like, oh my gosh, he has a brain injury. What if he's never right again? Don't borrow trouble in situations. A bill is overdue. They're going to turn off the lights. They're going to kick us out of our house. We're going to be homeless, all because the bill was overdue. See how your natural mind just wants to go there. But you can stop that. You can stop it by doing these steps. Do not borrow trouble. And when that comes to you, just put it down. Put it down and begin to think, you know what? I'm taking one day at a time. I'm going to be able to pay this bill. I will find a way. God will make a way. Something will happen. Life is wonderful. People are helpful. It's going to be okay. And you got to hang on and you have to start thinking half full, glass half full. You have to think that way. So do not borrow trouble. Don't expect bad things to happen. And don't create this great big litany of things that are going to go wrong and devastate your life. No. You're there. You're breathing. You're okay. You know, I went through some hard times when I was younger, and I remember needing more money. Anybody ever been there? I needed more money, and I ended up going through a divorce and having 2 children and not having enough money to pay the bills. And there was the bills that followed through all that. And I would get these bill collectors that would call me. And of course, I had never experienced this, and I'm just the nicest thing you'll ever meet. I'm never mean to anybody unless you mess with my kids or husband. But I would get these phone calls from these bill collectors, and they were so mean to me. Oh my gosh, they were just mean to me. And I would just become fear-filled. And I really honestly had no way to pay them at that moment. And one day I got fed up with it, and I decided I am not going to put up with this. And I thought to myself, this was the biggest revelation that I had. Really, what can they do to me? Really, are they going to come and take my children? Are they going to snuff out my life? Are they going to take my house away? I was renting. I mean, what could they do? Really, what could they do? And so one of the guys called me, and he was threatening me, literally threatening me. And I stopped him in his tracks, and I said, listen, if you call me again, I'm putting you on the bottom of my list of people who are going to get paid, and I will make sure that you get paid last. What are you going to do to me? Take my children? What are you going to do? And he couldn't do anything, of course, because I learned that he didn't have the power. I had the power. And of course, I ended up paying the bills, but it took a while. I had to get on my feet. So I said all that to say, you have to look at things differently and not be a victim. So number 4 was do not borrow trouble. Number 5, and this is the biggest one for me, have hope. You have to hang on to hope. God is real. Miracles happen every day. And why would they not happen for you, right? So in this situation, I had to find hope. In many situations in my life, I've had to find hope. Never get up. Never give up. Never give up. Get up and be hopeful that things can change, because miracles happen every single day. I try to get up and just be thankful every single day. Am I perfect? No. Is it easy? No. It is not always easy, but you've got to have hope. I don't care if that means you've got to go to church to find hope, if you've got to watch somebody on TV who is sharing something that inspires you, if you've got to talk to your best friend, if you've got to pray, if you've got whatever it takes, find hope. Don't give up your hope, because you're not a victim. You're not a victim. And if you change your mind, you will change your life. I'm Julie Tussey, smart enough to be a blonde.
Health and beauty are synonymous, and when you find a place that can help you accomplish those two things in your life, you have really found a treasure. The skincare experts at Beautiful You Medical Spa are waiting to help enhance your natural beauty. You have got to go and enjoy their relaxing, full-service medical spa and friendly staff. Book your first facial today for only $45 when you tell them that Julie sent you. Beautiful You Medical Spa, because everyone deserves to look and feel more beautiful.
There's nothing more powerful than love and acceptance. Find it in abundance here on the Julie Tussey Show.
The skincare experts at Beautiful You Medical Spa are waiting to help enhance your natural beauty. Enjoy their relaxing, full-service medical spa and friendly staff. Book your first facial today for only $45 when you tell them Julie sent you. Beautiful You Med Spa, because everyone deserves to look and feel more beautiful. An official sponsor of the Julie Tussey Show. I can parallel park my Cadillac and stilettos with a baby on each hip, sipping my Starbucks and managing 2 companies all at the same time. I am an American woman. Need I say more? Pop the Glam-pagne.
Connect with us on social media at facebook.com, The Julie Tussey Show, home of the original Suburban Bombshell. Connect with us on social media at facebook.com, The Julie Tussey Show, home of the original Suburban Bombshell. We're talking today about change your mind, change your life. I shared with you about 5 keys to change your mind, and I think they're really good. I hope you enjoyed them. I told you about Gary recently being in a head-on collision and that we are self-employed. If you're interested, if you are interested in helping our family we have started a GoFundMe page, gofundme.com/Gary and Julie Tussey. That's Tussey. We have that out there, and we know with all of our being and all of our hearts that everything is going to be okay. We're living it one day at a time here, and everything is going to be okay. Wanted to share with you that we have some great guests coming up this spring and summer. I've been talking with Shemaine Nugent, just talked to her yesterday, as a matter of fact, and she's written a book called 4 Minutes a Day to Rock and Roll Your Way to Happy. She is like me. She is an advocate for having a better life, living the best life you can, being healthy, being positive, being joyful, and she's a force to be reckoned with. She's a little blonde bombshell. And I'm the big blonde baby, and we're going to have a really, really good interview, and I am so looking forward to that. I've been talking to Tosca Reno. She is a New York Times bestselling author of Your Best Body Now, and she has the Eat Clean Diet series. Pretty good story about how she was unhealthy and overweight and how she began eating healthy, and she has some awesome cookbooks. She's a fantastic lady. I'm really looking forward to talking with her. We are going to have some special co-hosts this spring and summer. Once we are getting closer, I may announce who they are, but they may become a mystery. I haven't decided, but we're going to have co-hosts on. We're going to talk about all kinds of topics of interest, maybe some movies that are out, maybe some fashion, maybe dish on some celebrities, maybe find a scathing expose, those kinds of things. But, I'm really, really excited about that. My mission on the Julie Tussey Show is to make your life better and more joyful. I hope that you are encouraged today. I want to say thank you so much for listening. Please do subscribe if you're listening on iTunes. If you're listening on YouTube, it's youtube.com/Gary and Julie Tussey. Please subscribe. Please tell your family and friends about us. We are going to be adding sponsors to the Julie Tussey Show, and we are all about partnering with you to help your business to improve and increase and help your business to be the best that it can be. This is Julie Tussey telling you you only get one life. Live it to the fullest. I'm Julie Tussey, teaching you how to pull yourself up by your thigh-high bootstraps.
The skincare experts at Beautiful You Medical Spa are waiting to help enhance your natural beauty. Enjoy their relaxing, full-service medical spa and friendly staff. Book your first facial today for only $45 when you tell them Julie sent you. Beautiful You Med Spa, because everyone deserves to look and feel more beautiful. An official sponsor of the Julie Tussey Show.
When I see you standing across the street, I know you're the man
I can parallel park my Cadillac and stilettos with a baby on each hip, sipping my Starbucks and managing 2 companies all at the same time. I am an American woman. Need I say more? Pop the Glam-pagne.
If life is my oyster, darling, pass the hot sauce.